Hello everyone and welcome to my Necromancer build, specifically for PvP and open world, so Craddel. While it does work in Battlegrounds as well, you would have to tweak a few skills down there, but since Battleground got changed to deathmatch only, I might release, for further reference, another Necromancer Battleground only build. So anyways, let's get started with our character sheet. For attributes, as you'll see, we put everything into Magicka, nothing in health and nothing in stamina, and we are still sitting at a very healthy 31k pool of max health, 20k of max stamina and 31 of max Magicka on the front bar. Spell damage is pretty decent even though unbuffed. Magicka recovery is also pretty decent given that we don't have our recovery buff up. And resistances are pretty low, but this is again on the front bar, and you will see that this build is not specialized into resistances, so it's more of a high mitigation, low resistance build, mostly because of the Horthgar set that everyone is using right now, and that makes you a pain. If you're high resistances build, you'll just get yourself killed and kill everyone else. So yeah, rip my Warden, I guess. I'll just never play her again until I rework. So for the Mundus we are playing with the Lord, which increases our maximum health by 2k. And on this very specific build, we are a Vampire stage 3. Stage 1 and 2 can work as well, but we are needing the reduction passive from Undead to stack on even more mitigation. That's why we are stage 3. I didn't think I could sustain, but you just need to swap in a few heavy attacks, and with the skills we're using, some skills do great healing with no resource cost, so you can actually sustain stage 3 pretty easily. The food is of course bewitched sugar skulls, max health, stam at mag with a little bit of health recovery, which helps with the vampire passives. So for our sets, we are using on our 2-piece monster the new healer / tank set that was introduced in the game with Walking Flame. It is Magana Incarnate, and you will find it in the dungeon, the Dread Cellar. To complete this might prove a little bit difficult depending on if you're having a group or if you decide to just perk the dungeon, since you have to do it on veteran. And for now, until it gets nerfed, the last boss is a pain. So we're having this on heavy on the head, infused max health, and the shoulder is medium for the indented passive, impenetrable, also maximum health. The body set is Gossamer, which is why we are stacking a little bit more health, since we do not really benefit from the heavy armor passives because we just have one piece. So Gossamer with Tri-Stat enchantment, and what it does, it gives you maximum health twice and maximum Magicka recovery twice, and when you heal yourself or an ally, you grant them major evasion, reducing their damage from area effect by 20%. This is huge because still, even though with the introduction of new defensive champion points, AoE damage is still very high. So you will actually help people be a lot more tankier. And this also helps a lot with Dark Convergence and Horthgar both, because both do AoE damage. So maybe you'll probably most of the time help people to just hold block and walk out of it, or just pretty much die if they don't. For the Magana Incarnate, the other nice itemization I like about the set is it gives maximum Magicka recovery and stamina recovery, which is the only monster set that gives these two attributes right now. Pretty juicy for the one piece, and the second piece is when you heal yourself or a group member with a single target heal ability. Grant the lowest health group member within 28 meters, so the range is very good range. Minor courage and minor resolve. Increasing their weapon and spell damage by 250 and armor by 2090 for 10 seconds. The Daedric energy will then bounce to a nearby group member within 8 meters up to 3 times, applying minor courage and minor resolve for 10 seconds. This effect can occur every 15 seconds. This is a lot to take in from a single monster set, but basically what it does is when you heal yourself, cut short, when you heal yourself or an ally, you grant him minor resolve and minor courage. That's it, pretty easy. After 2 seconds it bounces to another ally. That needs to be in the range of 8 meters to go to someone else. That's what it does, like worded easier. The only little thing is you have a downtime from 5 seconds because it only lasts for 10 seconds and the cooldown is 15 seconds, but that's pretty manageable. The other nice thing I like is it is a buff set which gives both offensive buffs with minor courage and defensive buffs with minor resolves, which will help me free one of my slots in my skills to have something else. So yes, I did put away combat prayer to swap something else. For the other pieces, the small pieces are all maximum magicka impenetrable for the belt, the hands and the feet. The legs is infused Tristat, so pretty much you're infusing with Tristat on the 2 big body pieces. The monster set is infused for the head and impenetrable maximum health both, and all the other smaller pieces are maximum magicka with impen. And for the jewelry, we are wearing, this is our second 5-piece set, Buffer the Swift, with everything infused health, magicka recovery. And what it does, it gives us a little bit of maximum magicka, it gives us 2 bonuses of armor, and it reduces the damage taken from players by 10%. This is the reason why we don't need high resistances as to numbers, because Buffer the Swift will make us incredibly tanky without having to stack lots of armor, and so you're actually working around the introduction of Horthgar. For the weapons, on the front bar we are playing with the Master Restoration stuff, with a Berserk enchantment, so every time we heavy attack our spell damage goes up even more. The trait is empowered, of course, and the initial heal of Grant healing invigorates group members affected for 4 seconds, restoring 170 magicka and stamina every 1 second. So you're pretty much guaranteeing them almost 500 resources back every time you use healing springs. It's pretty nice, you just have to be aware that to get the bonus, people have to stand in the healing spring area when you put it down. So for example, if I put it down over there, I'm not... oh, it actually counted as... okay, I need to be more careful with this. Okay, so if you're healing from far away, let's say, you put it down, if there's no one in there, they won't be benefiting from the passive, like they need to stand in there to benefit from the little green hands you see, and the green area of effect around you. The other nice thing is, like, you need to, if you want optimal uptime, you would have to cast it every 4 seconds. But I usually just do it at the beginning and the middle of fights when I'm refreshing my hearts, and it's good enough. But you could potentially keep maximum uptime by just spamming it every 4 seconds. And then of course on the back bar we are playing with Buffer the Swift as sword and board. With defending and reinforced as the traits, but that is for our back bar. So you'll see our maximum magicka goes a little bit down since we have the perfected Master Resto that gives us 900 more max magicka. It goes down, but that's okay. Our maximum stamina, which is the pool we need most on the back bar, is going up. That's it for the sets. Now I will move on to the skills. So on the front bar we are wearing Expungent Modify as our first skill, which is going to be our cleanse, like personal, myself only cleanse. You have to be very careful with this though. If you're in a bigger group and you're having the Plague Breaker, try not to cleanse it if you can. And also it's more beneficial if you have 1 or 2 dots on you to not cleanse them, except if it's siege, because you will have some spicy healing passives that will kick in and make your heals go through the roof. The second skill is Rapid Regen. That's bread and butter. You need it, you love it, and it goes to everyone around you, 3 people. Illustrious Healing, of course, we need it to make the most use of Master Resto, and it's a nice hot to have. Energy Orb is our flex spot from the Undaunted skill line. It is not that used by lots of builds, but is incredibly strong, and it will help your allies getting up their resources. And it's also a really nice, it's a huge heal. If someone takes the synergy, it makes a big area of effect heal that helps everyone around, so even you can benefit from it if someone takes the synergy, because you get bigger heals. And Brain Tether is amazing. It will help us so much with keeping Gossamer up. And also it has absolutely no cost, so you have this very strong heal every time you have a corpse. Try to put it on. It's amazing. It helps you keep Gossamer up. It helps you keep healing for your allies up when you need to be kiting on mist form. It's just a crime not to have it, really. It's so good. Also, it increases your healing done by 3% on your front bar. And for the ultimate, yes, we are playing with Glacial Colossi because we like doing damage every now and then. So yes, Glacial Colossi, why? A, because it has an amazing stun when the Colossi goes down the third hit. Second, it applies major vulnerability to all the enemies in the target area, so if one of your friends by chance is running around with permafrost, you can just put down their Colossi and everything melts. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do in a healer. It's not just healing, it's also, if you can and when you can, helping with damage, because if the enemies are dead, that's so much healing you don't need to do. However, you can also just swap Glacial Colossi out for renewed animation if you already have someone who's running Colossi, or if you just don't feel comfortable with it. You can swap it out for the res. Or the other option is the Resto ultimate. You can also swap it out. You could potentially also use a Life Giver. I don't, because I like to help with damage and feel amazing, but that's other possibilities you can have. On the... Oh, another thing about Expungent Modify, but I'll go into more details after. It uses your own health, so you have to be careful with cleansing. But it uses your health but gives you back a little bit of magicka and stamina every time you cleanse an effect. And it also reduces the cost of all your abilities by 3%, which is the reason why I have it on the front bar. I have it front bar because it reduces my spammable skills by 3%, and being a dark elf and vampire stage 3, I try to get all the cost reduction passives I can. For the backbar, we are having our best friend, the Spirit Guardian. This is your best friend. You need to have him up all the time, because if you don't, you'll be sad. Promise me. Believe me. I promise you'll be very sad if he's not there, because you need him. What it does is it heals your allies. And while it's active, he takes, and yes, I'm reading this, 10% damage from you. That's transferred to the spirit, so he basically soaks in 10% of the damage you're taking. That's pretty huge, and he creates a corpse. Also, with your living death passives, no, where is it? It's Gravelord passive, excuse me. When you have Blast Bones, Skeleton Mage, or Spirit Bender active. Where is it? It's not even here. There it was, it's in the Confederate. While you have a Blastbone, Skeleton Mage and Spirit Mender active, your health, magicka and stamina recovery is increased by 200. This is your class regen buff. For like Warden has the animal companion passive that you, when you need to have a skill in your bar to get 10% or 8% regen, well, this is the same. This is like your class regen passive. So another reason why you need to keep it up every time, because it makes your magicka recovery go up. If I'm bar swapping, I'm at 1.8, and if I'm putting my ghost up, I'm bar swapping again, I'm up at 2.1, which is the limit of reasonable I like to have. This is also why you need to keep this friend up all the time. Also, it creates a corpse, so you can just tattoo after it. Our second skill on the back bar is Deaden Pain. It's another amazing skill. What it does, it costs you nothing again, and it is the skill you will use to get your ultimate and to be more tanky. What it does is it consumes the corpses around you. It gives you a little very weak heal over time on yourself. For 2 seconds you heal up, but it grants you major protection for the duration of the heal, which reduces your damage taken by another 10%. So you need this because it helps your survival. Also, while it's slotted, it reduces your damage taken by another 3%. And it costs you nothing, so you get 3% damage mitigation just by being there, and when you can activate it, you even get major protection, which is another 10%. Our first skill is the this skill is right there in Boneyard Tyrant. Our first skill is the Summoner's Armor, which is our armor buff. Wrap yourself into hardened bone, granting you major resolve, increasing your physical and spell resistances by 5k. While active, reduce the cost of Blast Bone, Skeletal Mage and Spirit Mender by 15%. You'll have your armor buff active all the time, so your Spirit Mender, which gives you your regen passive, will be way cheaper. Like you'll see, it's 4.2k now. If I armor buff, this will be going down at 3.6. You could also potentially use totem agony totem instead of healing orb on the front bar, which is our flex spot. If you feel like your group needs more crowd control, you can potentially just put agony totem and give an AoE minor protection and a fear. That's a possibility. I don't use it right now because I'm a very mobile healer who likes to not be sitting dark. So I try to avoid using skills that are effective if I'm staying at one set location. But you can still swap orb out for agony totem if you need to. Our fourth skill on the back bar is Resistance Flash from the Living Dead. This is our burst heal on the back bar when we're taking a lot of damage and we need to heal ourselves really fast. It says, sacrifice your own power to repair damage flashed, healing you and an ally in front of you for 10k, but also applying Mitigationg to yourself for 4 seconds, reducing your healing received and health recovery. You grant the target spell and physical resistances equal to half the amount you healed for 3 seconds. So if you're healing yourself, the heal is 10k, you grant them for 3 seconds 5k resistances. Or yourself. Which is also pretty good. The reason why I'm having it on the back bar, knowing it's gonna be weaker, is when I'm kiting with mist, I need sometimes, because I can't heal myself, when I go out of mist, I need to heal myself up really fast. Since when you come out of mist form, you have, with the passives you can spell damage and weapon damage, your heal is gonna be stronger. You can see, it can go up very high. It was 10k on the tulip, 11k when I healed myself out of mist, and it can go even higher. It was at 17 when it crits, outside of Craddel that is. So still pretty strong. You can get an easy 7-8k burst heal out of this when you need it most, pretty much. The other very important thing it does is it applies a debuff on yourself. With your healing passives, while you have a negative effect, your healing done is increased by 8%. So you're reducing your own healing received to make your healing done be stronger. The other nice thing, and this is one of the reasons why I love Magana Incarnate on my Necromancer, is you're putting yourself a debuff on you. You put a debuff on yourself, right? That lasts for 3 seconds. But if you remember, I have Expungent Modify that helps me cleaning up. What it does is it consumes my health, so I have to heal if I want my health to go up. So it means, if you're thinking about it, I can actually, since I have a skill that drops my health, I can proc Magana Incarnate on cooldown whenever I want to without having to be in a fight or without needing to myself take damage from other players. So if you're buffing up and you're not yet in the fight but you still want to give your group the benefit of minor courage, you can just heal yourself, cleanse, and then rapid regen, and you're buffing you and your group mates up. That's pretty amazing. It's one of the only classes who can do it, because you have a skill that uses your health, and that still benefits your build. I mean, of course every build can have a skill that uses their own health if they just slot altar, but altar will not benefit every build, so this is pretty nice, like how it works together. I like it a lot. So this is our fifth and last skill on the back bar. It is of course Elusive Mist. It is our get out of danger CC immunity skill, and right now with the introduction even more of Horthgar and Dark Convergence, it really feels like, and it's sad, but it really feels like if you're not a vampire, sometimes your life gets very difficult because of all the CC you have, and the nice thing you have with Mistform is you take 70%, 75% less damage, which is huge. You get immunity to to everything, like pretty much everything, disabling immobilization effects, and you have movement speed to go out of danger very fast. So usually when, like right now, when Dark Convergence hit, what you do, like you're buffed up pretty much. Let's say it hits over there. What you do, the first thing is you block and you walk out of it. If there is a negate, that's what you need to do. You block. Don't dodge roll. It will drag you out again. It will drag you in again. If you dodge roll, you will just have wasted your resources. But you block and you walk away. When you're far away, you can just dodge roll. The other thing is, if there is no negate, you block and you Mistform away. And you're back to safety. That's why I think Mistform is like, I hate to say it's a needed skill, because I think there's no such thing as a needed magical skill. But it sure does feel this way right now, which is pretty sad. For the armor passives, you will have to take everything on light armor, since you're playing on a light armor build, obviously. Which is also why we can play with Lord Minderstone and still have very good magicka recovery, because we're benefiting from all of these passives, like we having the highest cost we can have, we having the most regen we can have, because we having so much light armor on. Medium armor, with the changes, you will also want to take everything, because now medium armor grants you critical heals and critical damage, as well as weapon and spell damage. Where is it? There you go. Agility. So you will have to take, before you could do without agility and dexterity, but now you pretty much have to take everything. Heavy armor is the same. We're just using one piece, but still, it would be a shame to not benefit from all the heavy armor passives. For Vampire, as you saw, we are using the Elusive Mist. And the passives you will want to have on Vampire is pretty much everything. Since we're playing on stage 3, you need the Undead. This is the reason why we're playing stage 3 Vampire, because it reduces our damage taken by up to 30% based on my missing health, and this kicks in at when you're below 50%. So pretty much when you enter execute, Undead kicks in. The other nice thing is this is also on your front bar. It's not like, since I'm having Buffer the Swift on the back bar, most of my mitigation is on sword and board. This helps alleviate with this, with also giving me very strong mitigation on the front bar, so I can keep healing and throwing out my resources. Blood Ritual is just if you want to be nice and bite other people. You don't need it if you don't have enough skill points, but it's always a nice thing to have a character that can bite other people to either make money or just be nice and bite for free. Strike from the Shadows is the skill that helps us with having high spell damage when we go out of mist. It increases our weapon and spell damage by 300 for 6 seconds, so every time we go out, our healing will also be way stronger. And Darkstalker, it ignores the movement penalty from Strike, which is I don't use it that often, but it's still nice to have, because yeah, I'm I'm in sneak now. I'm actually hiding and I'm just running around like it's nothing. The other nice thing is if I come out, I will trigger my passive. My spell power passive. Same with Mist, if I go in and then I leave it, I have my spell power passive. And for our last skill on the back bar, we are playing with reviving barrier. I used to have barrier front barred, but it's actually better to have it on the back bar. Because the shield is going to be stronger because it takes on all your defensive abilities. When it calculates the strength and absorption power of the shield, it scales with your own defenses. And also, the thing is, when you're in heavy outnumbered fights, you need to heal yourself or your group members. It's way easier to just go out of mist form and barrier straight away, rather than having to go out of mist form, bar swap, be lucky and then hit barrier. It's more for convenience that I changed it. But I feel this is a way better change than what I had before. Also with the magical aid passive, it will make from support. It will give us 10% more recovery on the back bar. Since it's the bar, we are not doing that many heavy attacks, it can still be nice having a bit more recovery on the back bar. For racial passives, of course, we take everything, so we are Dark Elf for this build, mostly because of the flame resistances, which will help alleviate the negative effects of Vampire. You can potentially also be Breton and be fine. The only thing is you will trade a little bit of resistances for more recovery, because Breton has amazing recovery. It's still the best class for healing, don't fight me on this, even if this character is Dark Elf. Breton is still Master Race of healers. It's how it is. For alchemy, if you're feeling fancy and have the skill points, yes, you can put everything into your solvent proficiency to make your own potions. Alchemy use is something you need even if you don't want to put points into the passives. Take at least this. It will make it so the effects of your potion lasts 30% longer. And if you decide to try and craft your own potions, you will need chemistry laboratory use as well. Then the other is pretty much just bonus if you have the points. If you want to also be able to craft your own food for your character and be like me and not want to swap every time, you can just use the recipe improvement, recipe quality and chief, so you can craft your own bewitched sugar skulls. And don't have to just swap around and put in your bank. I don't have time for this, so I just try and make it so my characters can do the things I need them to do. Other than this, we don't need any other passives, really. Now, for the champion points. I've made some changes to my build because of the changes of the red CP and the introduction of few new CPs in blue, but I will start with green first. So, champion bar. What we're having on where we don't need this is War Mount for the fast horse, gifted rider to be even faster. We have Military Disassembly because we needed to go up there to have the fast horse. And we have Steed Blessing, which increases our movement speed out of combat. So when we're not fighting, we're being faster. The other thing you could potentially use if you don't feel like having a fast horse could be liquid efficiency. I love this. I have it on my Nightblade healer and it's amazing. When I'll make my Nightblade build eventually once it's all ironed out, and it's amazing. I love it. I just don't have enough points if I also want to keep my horse. But if I had, I need to grind up some more. I will take away Steve's Blessing and I will take Liquid Efficiency instead. You don't need also, since you're a vampire, you don't need to put any points into Fleet Phantom because you already ignore all the penalty of sneak. You don't need this, so you will save 40 points for wherever you want to put them. I should probably start with putting them into Steadfast Enchantment if I cared enough for green CP. Anyways, now onto the blue tree. So our champion bar in this is very different from what we had in our healer, where I said I like to have 3 defensive, 1 healing to get my heal up, to get my healing be very strong. Well, this time around, since we're on a light armor build, we just do everything defense here. We don't have any healing champion points at all. We just have defensive champion points. And our healing power will come from the spell power we amass with minor courage, sorcery potions, and vampire passive when we go out of mist. Your healing will still be very strong, believe me. You just, since we're on light armor, I just think it's stronger to survive some more rather than have 10% more AoE healing, because a dead healer is not doing any healing at all. So if I want to squeeze 2k heals out of my AoEs, well, I could potentially, but I feel like defense is the way to go, at least for now, until Dark Convergence and Horthgar are not a thing anymore. So yes, we are running Ironclad, reduces the damage taken from direct attacks by 2%, which is the new CP that was added in here, Ironclad, for the direct damage mitigation. We are using Resilience for the critical chance. Then we are using, of course, as always, Duelist rebuff to deal with these annoying sorcerers and their crystal frags, or with Magana Nightblades and Incap. And an Assailable, because there is a lot of AoE damage still going around. Then here you can take all, that's just about all the passives. You don't really need these two, but I have enough points of blue to go all the way up there. If I had to change something and still take a healing CP, I would swap out Duelist rebuff. I would keep Ironclad and an Assailable, because Ironclad partly covers single target damage. It says reduce your damage taken from direct attacks. Frag is a direct attack and so is Incap, so it will be affected by the CP already. It's just I want to go overkill and I have Duelist rebuff, but if I had a choice to make to have a heal CP, I would take away Duelist rebuff and I would probably take Smoothing Tide again. If you want to change and have a little bit more healing, feel comfortable with the defenses you have. I tend to do a lot of 2vxing, like taking on 10 guys just with being a single healer and a single DPS. So I obviously need more defensive passives than you probably would have to use if you're playing in a bigger group, or if you're having another healer with you. You can just drop some defenses, but the fights I tend to go in is like heavily outnumbered fight, because it's funny when they realize they can't kill you. So that's just the way I do things, but you don't have to do all defense, you can just change and do more healing if the group you're playing with allows you to. On the blue CP, we are having celerity, which increases our movement speed by 10%. This is amazing. This is one of the replacements I found for rejuvenation, which is now gutted. Thank you, Zos. It's bad, so I just put my new apples into speed. And it works pretty damn well. The other CP is expert evasion. I always had this on, and it's just so amazing to be able to roll dodge and not see your stamina bar go down the drain. It only lasts for 30 seconds, but it will help you a lot with stamina management when you're getting heavily focused and you need to dodge roll. Slippery is also very nice because it will help. It's the same as expert evasion. It's just when you break free, like you break free at no cost for every 21 seconds. It's amazing. It's really strong. I didn't think it would be this strong, but it actually is. So I'll just keep it because now I've tasted and I liked it a lot. And the other one we have is Boundless Vitality, just to have our maximum health go over the top so we can get these nice 31k max health on the light armor build. It's not that needed. I like it because I like having a bit more health as a healer. You could potentially do without it, and if you decide to go without it, you could either go with Shield Master, because this will help you keep the cost of your barrier down. I would go with Shield Master if I had to take away my health. If you don't feel you don't need the maximum health, I would go with Shield Master, because our barrier ultimate, with being Vampire stage 3, costs us 270, which is a lot. It's very expensive, which also makes it so strong. But yes, if I would have to choose, I would probably go with Shield Master to kick these numbers down. And I think that's pretty much it for the build, so thank you for hanging on in there until the very end, and I hope this has helped you. I've put some montages of my Necromancer on YouTube already if you want to check them out, and I'll probably put some more because I love this build so much, so I'll probably put on a lot more. So if you have questions about how this is working or things that aren't that clear, don't hesitate to ask, and thank you for taking the time. Bye bye.